Hello guys, and welcome to a 5-part tutorial series that I'm putting together in Blender 2.9 on making this female character here from scratch. Now, this is actually based on a lot of you asking me to do a complete character tutorial series, and I even did a poll on this, and the majority of you voted for this, so I've finally put it together. This is part 1 where we start the modeling, and by the way, if you want to buy all of these different videos, including 2 extra bonus videos, including the blend files, you can check that out in the description below. I am making that available as a downloadable file that you can get on Gumroad. Also helps support the channel a lot. So this is it, just so you can have a nice good look here. This is what we will be making. Really cool little character. So yeah, let's get started with part 1. Okay, so the new scene open up. I'm in Blender 2.9. We're going to start by using our default cube. So go ahead, select the default cube. We're going to hit 1 to go into our front orthographic view on our number pad. Then we're going to tab into edit mode, and with this cube selected here, to make things a little bit easier, let's just go into wireframe. So hit Z and then go into wireframe mode. Just deselect these vertices. And we're going to hit B to box select, and we're going to select these 2 top vertices here. We're going to go G, Z, bring them down to about here. And then we're going to go E and extrude up. We're going to extrude up on the Z to about here. So we're just kind of figuring out the proportions of the body. So this is the lower abdomen, and then this is going to be kind of like the upper chest. And our arms will be kind of going this way here. And it's very blocky at first, but it's just to kind of simplify things a bit. So we'll just select these guys at the top, all of these. S, X, and scale them in on the X just a little bit. Okay, so now just select the top 2 again. And then go E to extrude it up on a Z, and then S to scale it in like that. Not too much, just a bit, maybe like that. Then we're going to go Control R to add in a loop cut in the middle. So Control R, you'll see it appearing over here. Double click to add it in. And then what we're going to do is we're going to select these half of the vertices in the front view. So select them and then hit delete. So X and delete vertices. Go to your modifiers, and let's give this guy a mirror modifier. And it's very important that you enable clipping. If you enable clipping, it won't slide apart. All of these vertices in the middle will stay connected. Okay, so let's go hit 3 to go into a right orthographic view. And then we're going to go S, Y, and we're going to scale it in on the Y about this much. And then we're going to select these top guys here and go S, Y, and scale them in on the Y a bit. And then just these ones here. And I'm just avoiding proportional editing here just to keep things simple for beginners. So we're just going to go with something like that. And then we're going to come in here, Control R. So Control R, double click to add in another loop cut here. And you can see it's kind of come together. Then before we go any further, we're just going to go to our top orthographic view by hitting 7. Hit C for the C select tool. We're going to select these vertices here. Then go G to bring them in like this. And then do the same thing to these guys here. G, move them in. So we're just rounding the body out a bit. And then we're going to come in here, Control R, add in another cut. And then Control R, add in another cut here. And then we're going to hit A to select everything. We're going to click on our smooth tool here. Click on this little gizmo and just pull it just to smooth them out a little bit. We're then going to select these bottom vertices. Hit X and delete those 2 to open that up. You can just go back to this move tool here. That'll be fine. And then just select these 2 top ones here. Hit X and delete. Now what we want to do is we want to kind of just bring this guy in here. So select these 3 over here, bring him in a little bit more, and maybe bring this one in a little bit more on the X. We're just trying to round things out. Then Shift and Alt, click on this edge here to loop select this edge of vertices here, and then go E to extrude, S to scale, bring him in even more, and then G, X, move him in like this. So we're just kind of creating the bottom of the neck. We're going to go G, Z, just move it up like that. Maybe scale it a bit more, and then we're going to go E, Z, and extrude it up like this, just for now. Maybe like that, and then we're going to go to right orthographic view, and we're just going to rotate it forward a bit like that. But now we need to enable our proportional editing tool from up here. So we're going to go Shift Alt, click on this loop of vertices here, and we're going to go G, Y, and just move them back a little bit. We're just kind of creating the posture for the character here. So it's just going to be something like that, and I might even bring it down just a bit. Rolling the middle mouse button to control the fall off. So just something like this. Select these top vertices here by loop selecting them, and just bring this neck down forward a bit and just scale it. We can then go Control R and roll in a loop cut here as well. And then go to our front orthographic view. And then what we're going to do is start working on our arms here. So go to our face select option here. For now, just disable the proportional editing. And we're going to select this face here, holding in Shift select this face here. Go to your front view. And your front view, we're just going to rotate, hit R to rotate it in a bit, and then G, X, move it in on the X a bit. And we're going to go E to extrude it out like this, and then S to scale it. And then G, move it down a bit. Just rotate it like this maybe. Move it out a bit more, hit X, and just delete those two faces. I know it looks a bit messy, but let's go to our vertex select option. Select this vertex here, vertex, double G to slide it in. And the same with this one, double G, just slide it in towards the arm. And then we're going to grab these two here. On the ends, we're going to go G, double G, and just slide them up. And grab these two here and just scale them in a bit. So we're trying to round it out. Maybe bring them down a bit. Okay, so now we can come in here, Control R to add in a loop cut here. And Control R to add in a loop cut here. Select this vertex, bring it in here just to round it out, and this guy here as well. In fact, you can go Shift Alt, click on this edge here to edge select this loop, and then you can go Shift Alt S, and that'll round it out. So Shift Alt S and then pull your mouse cursor, and it'll round it out a little bit. And then we can also go S, X, 0, and flatten it on the X. So S, X, 0, like that. And at the moment, it might look a bit messy, but we'll get to refining things a bit later. So just leave it like this for now, and zoom out a little bit. And then we're going to go E, and we're going to extrude that edge to about here. S to scale it down just a bit. And then we're going to go E to extrude a little bit more, and then S to scale it up a bit. And then we're going to go in our front orthographic view, E again. I'm going to go to about here, and then S to scale it like that. Okay, so we're just going to leave it at that for now. Once again, go to your right orthographic view. And in your right orthographic view, if those edge vertices still selected, go Control plus or Command plus just to grow the selection till we've selected the whole arm like that. Go to proportional editing. Maybe just deselect these ones here, and we're going to go G, Y, and we're just going to move this back with proportional editing. I'm rolling my middle mouse button just to control the fall off. So I'm just moving the arm back a little bit to make it a bit more anatomically accurate. And I'm going to select these vertices here, double G just to slide them back. So these ones here, double G, just slide them. So you can see the body coming together here. Okay, so that's looking pretty good for now. So let's go ahead and throw a subdivision surface modifier on this the model here. You can see it's smoothing it out. Tab out of edit mode, go to object mode, and enable shade smooth. So we're now in object mode. Okay, so we still have a lot of work to do, but our general model here for the body is getting established. So let's go back to edit mode, and let's select these vertices here. And in our top view, we're just going to go G and just move them in a bit, just trying to round the neck out. So select these ones here, just bring them in a bit, just rounding them out like that. And then we're going to come here to the arm. We're going to go Control R, roll in some more loop cuts here. So about 3 will do. And then we're going to go to our proportional editing here. And we're going to just select this loop of vertices here, and we're going to go Alt S and just scale them out along the normals just a little bit. Do the same thing here, Control R, roll in some loops, and do the same thing here. Select that loop, Alt S, and scale out along the normals a little bit, like that. So you can see we're kind of just creating a bit of dynamic or structure to the arm here. Just so it doesn't look like a flat cylinder. And we'll get to making the hands a little bit later. They're going to be pretty stylized themselves. But for now, I just like to work this way, so I'm just going to add a placeholder material. So this, because we used a cube, by default it has this material here. I'm just going to call it skin, or you can call it whatever. And I'm just going to go to the viewport display, and this is nothing more than a viewport display, so it won't actually render this. So I'm just going to give it some kind of like a bit of a darker kind of blush, and bring down this up the roughness. So there we have the start of the body here. So what we're going to do next is we will still probably have to refine this a little bit, but what we are going to do next is we're going to start modeling the shirt around the body here. So there are two ways we can go about modeling the shirt. So number one is to actually just add in another plane or a cube and model it around the body here. That's one option you can approach, but another thing you can do is actually just go into edit mode. This is another option, and actually work with the mesh that already exists here as a start. So let's go with that approach. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over here to our face select option, and we're going to go Shift Alt and click on this edge here, and that's going to loop select these faces here. We're going to go Control Plus to grow the selection just once, like that. Then we're going to go Shift D to duplicate it, right click to let go. Make sure to disable proportional editing, and then we're going to go Alt S, and we're going to scale that out along the normal. So Alt S, and you don't want to go too overboard with that, so just about that much, a little bit. And then we're going to go to our material just so we can see it stand out. This is why I like to work with Viewport Materials. Over here in the material editor, just click on the little plus, go New, and just call it shirt. And with that geometry selected, just assign it there. And in the viewport display, I'm going to go with a kind of blue, like this. Bring that roughness up a bit. So there we have that. So now we can see, the nice thing about this workflow, now we can see if there's any intersection. So I can see here is some intersection, which is no good. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our edge select option. We're going to go Shift Alt and click on that edge here, and that's going to select this outer edge. So if I get S to scale, you can see we have that edge there selected. And I'm going to go double G just to slide it down a little bit, like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go Control L, and that's going to select, with that edge selected, it's going to select all of this. I'm going to right click and I'm going to go Subdivide. Okay, and then I'm going to go to my Smooth tool. I'm just going to smooth it out a little bit more, like that. Now I'm going to go Shift Alt, click on this edge here, make sure to go back to the Move tool, and now we have some more geometry to work here. So I'm going to go E, Z to extrude up, and that's going to intersect here with your arm, but don't worry about it. So I'm going to go to my right view, I'm going to go S, Y, and scale it in on the Y a bit, G, Y, move it back. So we're just trying to kind of scale it, extrude it up, but keep it in line with the body. We're going to go E to extrude up, and then Z, extrude up again, about that much, and then we're going to go S, Y, scale it in along the Y. Maybe move it back a bit. We just want to make sure it's not intersecting with the body. So maybe scale it out in the Y a little bit more. So just like that. And then we're going to go R in the front view. So just hit R to rotate it in a little bit like this. And then we're going to deselect it and then select this guy here, the body. We're going to hit Control L to select all of it. So just select an edge, hit Control L, it's going to select all of the body, and then hit H to hide it. And now we're going to come select the face select, go into our right orthographic view by hitting free, and we're going to select these guys here, just these guys here, these 6 faces on the side, hit X and delete those faces. Now if we go Alt H to unhide this, we can see we have the gap here in the arm, which is what we want. So let's go to our vertex select option, enable proportional editing, and let's make sure connected only. So make sure to come to the drop down, connected only. Then we're going to select this vertex here at the bottom, just any one of these at the bottom of the arm, and then we're going to go G, X, and just kind of move it out a little bit. And we can go into wireframe, select these 2 vertices in here, maybe just delete those 2, just to open up the gap a little bit more. So just like this, I'm going to bring this one in, and I'm going to grab this guy here and bring it in just a little bit. Okay, maybe I can just select these vertices at the bottom. Just these guys here with proportional editing still enabled. I'm just going to move them up into the armpit a little bit more. Okay, we can refine things a little bit later. So once we've done that, we can disable proportional editing and then select this vertex here. Just bring it in a little bit and then select these 2 here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go to our right orthographic view. Maybe just move them forward a bit and then go E. We're going to extrude up like this, go to front view. Make sure it's kind of following, so we're going to rotate it like this, and we're going to extrude it up again. Go to your right view, move it in a bit, and we're just trying to kind of work it around the body here. So you can see I might have to rotate it like this. E to extrude like this. Rotate it at the back here. Maybe rotate it like this. Select these guys. We're just moving them, placing them around the body here. And then once they're about here, we can hold in Shift and select these 3 vertices down here. So we got 3 selected up here and 3 down here. Then we can go Control E and we can go Bridge Edge Loops, and it'll bridge that for us. And we still have to come in here, just adjust things by pulling them out a little bit if there's any intersection. You can also come Control R, add in some extra loops, double click, Alt S just to scale it out along the normals, like that. So just quickly tab out of edit mode and see what that's looking like. So you can see now we have this shirt forming around the body, but at the moment it's looking a little bit weird. So what we can do is we can select these bottom, in edit mode, select these bottom vertices, enable proportional editing, and just go G, kind of move it out a bit and down. So just like that, and then select this one and just move it in a bit. And then you can select the one on the body here and just move that in a bit so it's not intersecting with the shirt. So you can always select the ones underneath that make up the body by going to wireframe and just drag those guys in a little bit more if they're intersecting at all with your shirt, which we don't want. So just making sure you only see the shirt. So this is something where you kind of have to just eye it and try and make it look the way it should look. So you don't want to avoid any kind of intersection with the mesh underneath with the shirt, but so you can see kind of what I'm doing here. So it's not too complicated. It just takes a little bit of time, a little bit of practice to kind of get this right, but you'll eventually get it. So I'm just going to select these edges, here by selecting these vertices on the edge and double G just to slide them up a little bit, just to thin this thing out here. Selecting these vertices at the top. I'm just holding in Shift while I'm selecting these. Double G just to slide these guys in. So yeah, that is looking okay. So what I'm going to do now, just to make things a little bit easier, I'm going to separate this mesh. I'm going to select a vertex on the shirt, just hit Control L. That'll select only the geometry on here. Then I'm going to hit P and separate by selection. Tab out of edit mode. Now the shirt is its own object. So with that done, let's give it some thickness. So let's go to our modifiers and just minimize these two, but let's give it a solidify. And in fact, what we can do is just grab the solidify and drag it above the subdivision surface modifier. So just like this, so it can be a little bit tricky. So you want the mirror, then the solidify, then the subdivision surface modifier. So with the solidify here, let's just come and drag this value up. You might have to go into the negatives. It depends on the direction of the normals on your faces. So you can if you can go into edit mode and just go Alt N, and you can go recalculate outside or inside, depending on if they're flipped the wrong way or not, but mine aren't, so this should work just fine. So I'm going to just bring this value up a little bit till it has some thickness to it, and then what I'm going to do is maybe add another subdivision surface modifier on top of that. See what that looks like. Okay, that seems to be rounding it out a little bit too much, so what I could try is to put the subdivision surface modifier back on top of the solidify. Okay. And then maybe bring this thickness on the solidify down a little bit, and then give it another subdivision surface modifier. Okay, that looks quite nice. I like the way that looks a lot better. It's quite stylized, quite cartoony, but it looks really cool, and it's going to work for this character. So now what we can do is just select the shirt anytime we need to, come in here into edit mode, and then grab points here and just move them around with the proportional editing enabled, and we can kind of really easily edit things here. So I might even come in here, Control R, just add in some more geometry here, just move it back a little bit, just to avoid any sort of points of intersection, just making things look as natural as possible. Okay, so that was one of the harder parts done, making the shirt. So you can refine it as much as you want to, but this is pretty much how mine looked on my character. So I might just go Alt S with these edges to the bottom selected, just move them out a little bit more to make it a bit more flowy. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're going to model the pants, and then we can, I suppose, do the feet and shoes as well. So to get started with the pants, what we're going to do is we're going to just, and once again, you could add in a cube or a plane, start from there, but I'm just going to keep things simple and preserve some of these modifiers. I'm just going to grab this shirt here, go into edit mode, just disable proportional editing, Shift Alt, click on the edge here just to loop select these vertices, Shift D to duplicate, and then Alt S to scale it in on the normals, hit P and separate by selection. Now it's its own object, tab out of edit mode. And then object mode, we're going to just select that edge we just duplicated. So you can see I have it selected there, that guy. Then go into my right orthographic view, I'm tabbing into edit mode. A to select it, all of the geometry in edit mode, so all of these vertices, and then I'm going to go E to extrude and Z to bring it down. And then I'm going to go Alt S to scale it out, like that. I'm also going to go to my material slot here, just tab out of edit mode quickly, just get rid of these two materials, go new, and let's just call it pants. And I'm just going to come to my viewport display once again, and just kind of give it like a purple or something, bring up the roughness a bit, go to object and enable shade smooth. So that's once again just a viewport display. It has nothing to do with the final render. It's just so we can kind of see where meshes end and start and intersect. So tab back into edit mode of that guy. And what we're going to do is we're going to go into our right orthographic view by hitting free, and we're going to go S, Y, and scale it in on the Y a bit. But at the front, we want it to kind of go out like that a little bit. So to create kind of like the curvature of the hips, since this is a female character. We're going to go E to extrude, Z, bring down another extrusion about here. Alt S just to scale it out a bit. E to extrude, bring it down again to about here. Alt S to bring it out a bit. Maybe this guy a little bit more. Alt S. And then we're going to just keep extruding till we get about here. So I'm going to go down, extruding this down into Z to about here. And at this point, I'm going to go to the bottom here. And I'm going to go to my edge select. I'm going to select this edge over here. And holding in shift, I'm going to select this edge here. I'm going to hit F to fill that in. Then I'm going to come in here, go Control R, and roll in 3 cuts like this. Select the one in the middle, G to move it in. Grab this guy, move it in, and then grab this guy and move it in. Because we have clipping enabled, it won't intersect the side. It'll just kind of automatically merge, which is helpful. We're then going to go Shift Alt, click on this edge here. It's going to now loop select the beginning of the leg here. By the way, if you wanted short pants, you could kind of make pants similarly and then just extrude some cylinders for legs, but we're going to make this long pants. So now we're going to go E to extrude, S to scale. Then we're going to go to our front view and we're going to go G and just bring it down, G, Z, in our front orthographic view. S to scale it a bit. And you can see here we have to start off the legs. In fact, I might just bring this out a little bit more on the X, this side. Now we can enable proportional editing, go to vertex select and select this here. Bring it out like that. Go to your right orthographic view. It looks okay from the side here, so I'm not going to change that, but at the front, it looks really good. So now we have the start of the pants here. So now the rest is really simple. So just select this bottom here, and just go Shift Alt S, and decrease the proportional fall off, and just round it out a bit, then S to scale. So Shift Alt S, just kind of rounding that out, and that's a bit better. Now in our front view, I'm going to go E to extrude, Z, extrude down on the Z, and extrude to about here, S to scale down. In fact, let's just bring it down to the very bottom, to where the legs are going to be. So you can make your character as tall as you want, but I'm going to go with something like this. So about this much, probably about 2.5 times the height of the body here, the shirt. So about here, S to scale that down like this, and then E, Z, and extrude it down just a little bit. I'm going to go to my modifiers. I'm just going to get rid of the solidify here. We don't need that. And now we can come in here, Control R, add in a loop cut, double G to slide it, and this is going to be the beginning of the knees. So just bring it to the middle segment here. Go to the right view. I'm going to go G, just move it forward just a little bit. And then just select these bottom vertices. Just move them back on the Y just a little bit like that, just to create like a bit of a dynamic pose. And I'm going to scale this loop here a little bit, and then I'm going to go Control R, roll in 2 segments here, Control R, roll in 3 segments down here. And there we have the start of the legs. Now, like I said, you can come in here, enable proportional editing, select points, and then go Alt S, scale them out along the normals, just to thicken things up where you need to thicken them up, and to scale things down where you need to scale them down. So at the moment, I'm not too happy with the way things are looking here, so I'm just going to quickly disable in the viewport the 2 subdivision surface modifiers, and I'm just going to select these 2 vertices here, double G just to slide them up, and then I'm going to come in here, Control R, add in another loop here, and Control R, add in another loop here. And then I'm going to go Control Plus just to grow the selection around the crotch area here. And then just hit T to bring up your tools panel, click on the smooth tool, and just smooth that out a little bit. Okay, that's looking a bit better. Okay, so now we can just enable this subdivision surface modifier. In fact, just get rid of one of them. We only need a mirror and 1 subdivision surface modifier. So this is kind of like one of those things where you really have to come in and just adjust it till it feels right, especially when it comes to the hips. Like they're quite interesting in how they're shaped. Like you don't want them to look too flat like this. So you do need a little bit of curvature, and yeah, just spend as much time as you need. Maybe bring this out a little bit. It's looking a little bit too flat at the front here. Just dragging these guys forward a bit. Okay, that's looking okay for now. Like I said, this can always be edited. I might actually, just one more thing, I think just maybe grabbing these vertices in here and then just moving them in a little bit more, like that. Okay, that looks a lot better. I kind of like the way that looks. So here we have the legs done. Now what we're going to do before we go any further in object mode, let's just select all of this. I'm going to go G, Z, and just bring it up till the bottom of the feet are sitting on the floor here, because that makes more sense. And then what we can do is we can now model some really simple shoes. So to model the shoes, what we're going to do is we're going to go Shift A, we're going to add in a cube. So go to Measure Options, add in a cube, S to scale it down, and the front view, we're going to bring it to the right here in our front view and just put it underneath the bottom of the heel here. Go to the right view, just move the shoe back a little bit on the Y. So G, Y, just move it back a bit. Now that you've got it in place, we can just go give it a mirror modifier. Click on the little eyedropper here and then select the pants. Now it has a reference for the mirror. And what we're going to do is we're going to tab into edit mode. And I'm going to show you how to simply model a shoe here very easily. So we're going to go to our face select, make sure proportional editing is disabled. I'm going to come in here, go Control R, add in a loop, double G just to slide it up to about here. Go to our face select, select this face, then go E and just extrude it forward to about there. And now we're just going to give this guy a subdivision surface modifier. And come in here, Control R, double click, double G, just slide down a loop like that. Then select this face at the front, S to scale it down, and then double G just to slide it back like that. Control R, add in the loop here, S, X, scale it along the X, and then go to face select, select this face at the top, S to scale it down, and then X to delete that face. And then tab out of edit mode, go to object mode and enable shade smooth. And you can bump up this subdivision levels here in the subdivision surface modifier. And then let's just go to our materials, just give it a placeholder and let's call it shoe. And let's just make it black, like that. Okay, cool. Now what we just need to do before we go any further with the shoe is just select the foot here, the pants, tab into edit mode, go into wireframe, go to vertex select option here, select these bottom vertices, enable proportional editing, then we can go G and just move them up till you want the height of your ankle to where you want the height of your ankle to start. So in my case, I'm going to put it about here. This can vary depending on your character and what kind of shoes you're putting on, but I'm going to go with about there. Then select the shoe again, tab into edit mode, Shift Alt, click on this edge here to select it, disable proportional editing, scale it up a bit, and then E, Z to extrude it up like that, and then S to scale it down a bit. Tab out of edit mode, now select the pants again, and if those still selected, I can scale them up and just kind of move them a little bit till it matches up there, just creating the bottom of my pants here. Then I'm going to select this edge here. Once I'm done with that, E to extrude, S to scale, and just bring that in. Maybe just scale this guy out a bit. Okay, so there we have our shoes done. Now what we can do here is you can come in here, just add in some more details, but just adding in more loops. So if you go Control R, add in a loop here. We can go Alt S with these two vertices selected, just to expand that a little bit along the normals. So spend as much time as you want, look at some reference, make yourself a nice realistic shoe. But I'm happy with this, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my subdivision surface modifier, bring down the levels in the viewport to 1, and then I'm just going to come to the drop down here and apply it. So now we have this, and it was really super simple to model with just some basic subdivision modeling. Okay, so there we have a shoe. So let's have a look at it. I think we have our body pretty much done. The only thing we're going to do now that might be a little bit more tricky is just to create the hands here for our character. So that's what we'll do next. Okay, so what we're going to do to model the hand is we're going to select the body here, And then we're going to tab into edit mode, and we're going to just start by selecting this edge here. So let's first of all just go to our edge select here. Now if you guys followed along and you selected those two original faces and extruded them, all of these geometry counts here should be the same. So we should have the same amount of vertices around here. So I'm going to go Shift Alt with edge select enabled and click on this edge here. That's going to loop select this. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my top orthographic view by hitting 7. Then I'm going to go E, X, and extrude it out in the X. And then I'm going to go S to scale it like that. Then I'm going to go to my front view, and I'm going to go S, Z, and scale it down to Z. Then bring it down like this. So something like that. Okay, it looks a bit messy at the moment, but we'll get there. Then on my front view, I'm going to go E to extrude again to about here, S to scale it down a little bit. And now what we're going to do is go S, Y, like that. And we're going to go to our vertex select option. Select these two vertices here, double G just to slide them in the middle a bit more. So we have this, okay? So let's go to our face select option, select this face here. Holding in Shift, we're going to select this face here. Hit F to fill it. Then do the same here. Select this one, holding in Shift, select this one, hit F to fill it in. Control R to add in a loop here in the middle. S to scale it. And now we have these squares here, so we're going to go Shift, Alt, click on this edge, it's going to loop select it, F to fill it, and do the same thing. Shift, Alt, click on this edge, it's going to loop select this geometry, you're going to hit F to fill that face. Then we're going to select these two edges here, and we're going to go Alt S just to scale them out a little bit like that. So now we have the hand established. Now we're going to make some really basic fingers. So with this character, because it's stylized, we're only going to be making 4 fingers. So let's select this edge here. Double G just to slide it, and then select this edge here, double G just to slide it in like this. So what we want roughly here are these 4 faces, this one, this one, this one, and this one. So let's start by selecting this guy here. They should be roughly the same size. We're going to go to our front view, maybe a little bit offset like this, and we're going to go E to extrude out to here. Then we're going to select this guy, E to extrude it out about the same amount, maybe just a little bit more. Then this face here, E to extrude it out, and then this face here, E, and we're going to extrude that guy out like that. Maybe bring it down a bit, rotate it. So just kind of spread your fingers out so it looks natural. So just by selecting these faces, now these fingers are in the very early stages. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do the same thing. We're going to select this face here. Then we're going to go E to extrude again, S to scale, E to extrude a little bit, S to scale a little bit. Same thing with this face, and we're just repeating the exact same step we did previously. Select this guy here, E to extrude, S to scale. And at the moment it's looking very boxy, so what we're going to do is we're going to come in here, Control R, add in a loop on this finger, double G to slide it in, Control R, double click, double G, slide in an edge loop here. And we're going to do the same thing for each finger, Control R, double click, double G, Control R, double click, double G. And then we can add in one more loop cut to each one and scale it a little bit. Control R, loop cut, S to scale. Same thing here, double click, scale, and do the same thing here, double click, scale. So now we have the fingers starting here, but they're very boxy looking, which if you're going for a stylized look, that can work, but that might not be what we want. So what we're going to do is we're going to add in some more geometry. So let's come over here to the hand, Control R, just quickly add in a loop there, Control R, add in a loop over here. And then where the wrist is here, we're going to add in another loop, Control R, double click, double G, slide it in a little bit closer. And now this is going to be where our wrist is right here. You can see that coming together. And let's add in some more geometry at the bottom here. But first I might actually just grab the hand here and just enable proportional editing. Just select these bottom faces here in the palm of the hand and just bring them up a little bit, making the proportional editing really small, just so we don't have this big bump at the bottom. So we just want to kind of have a bit of a cavity or an inset at the bottom of the hand here to kind of give it the illusion of having like a palm. So I'm just going to bring that down. Okay. So might just select this edge here, double G just to slide that in a bit. So adjust these fingers, get them to look the way you want. If they look a little bit flat like this one does here, you can just come in here, select these faces, and just bring them out a little bit more like that. So if you go into object mode, you can see this is what it looks like. It looks a little bit weird, but remember we can rig these later on and adjust things, so it doesn't matter too much. So I'm just going to bring these faces down here. Okay, something like that. Maybe go to the top. This is one of those things that's really fiddly, so it's kind of hard to do a exact tutorial on it. I might just bring this out a bit. So yeah, you can spend as much time as you want with this. Now once again, I am making these blend files available on Gumroad, along with some extra bonus material, so you guys can kind of check my model out to see how it all looks, if this is a little bit confusing. Okay, so maybe just bring this out here. It's really tedious. When it comes to making hands, even when they're cartoony, it can be really tedious. I do apologize if you guys are just watching me pull points around and not really saying too much. It's just one of those things where you gotta look from multiple perspectives and just adjust things till they kind of look, I suppose organic could be the word. So I might just grab these guys here, just trying to round things out a bit. Maybe bring these guys in a bit. Okay, we can always refine this a little bit later. I'm just going to leave it at this for now. And if you were to actually come to edit object mode and disable the proportional editing here in the viewport, you can see these fingers look quite boxy, but that probably doesn't matter too much. You could always come in here, add in some more geometry by going Control R, adding in an extra loop here. But the only downside is then it adds extra geometry here to the body. Now you could work around that. So I could explain to you how to add in a loop cut here and then just connect the points to vertices here. So I'll quickly show you an example of that. So if you go and hit the K tool, we can click on this vertex here that's in the middle of these two fingers. Then click here on the end, and then come down here to just work our way around to each edge. So I'm gonna click on this edge here. Okay, so for some reason it doesn't want to do it too well. Click on this edge here, working my way around. So this can be a little bit tricky if you're new to it. Coming to the bottom of the hand and then just clicking on that edge and then connecting to the vertex that's in the middle of these two fingers here, and then hitting enter to add that in. So now you have some extra geometry in there, and you can grab these points now, bring them in a little bit like that, and start rounding the finger out like this. But this is only if you really are wanting it to be really round and not looking as square. So it really depends on what you're going for. So once again, I'll just show you how I did that. Click on this vertex here, hitting K, click on this edge, just work your way to the bottom till you get to the other side, and then you just do the exact same thing at the bottom, because this hand is a perfect match on the bottom and the top. So clicking here, clicking on that edge, and then meeting again at this vertex, hit enter, and now it gives you these points here. You can select these vertices, hit G and just move them in a bit like that. You can even use the smooth tool if you want. So just bringing these guys in. So now you can see, if I tab out that, and remember the subdivision surface modifier is not enabled, so you can see now they look a little bit rounder. So if I enable the modifier again, you can see they look rounder as well. So that's something you can do, and you can do the exact same thing with these guys here. Hit the K tool, click on here, and then just work your way around. Click on the edges, making a cut, and then just match it exactly on the bottom, because it's the same at the top as it is on the bottom. Clicking on here and then meeting at a point like this. And then we can do the same thing up here. Hit the K for the K cut tool, click on that vertex, and then just work your way around here. Working your way around, clicking on the middle of these edges, coming here, clicking on here, and then meeting at a point. And once again, you could, if you want to, just hit the C tool to select these, or just box select, whatever you prefer. Come to your smooth tool and then click on this little gizmo and just smooth that out just a little bit. You don't want to overdo it, just to round those out. So that's what it's looking like so far. And there's a few triangles, but I don't really care about that too much. You could come in here, go Control R, add an edge between these two, scale it in. So now you've gotten rid of that triangle, and you can do the same thing over here. Scale it, hit S to scale. So you can now see we have this nice flow here. It looks a little bit neater. And you can do the same thing in here with these triangles. Okay, that shouldn't be happening. What's going on here? I think I might have an extra vertice here. If you do get that, just select the vertice, hit X, and then dissolve vertices. I'm gonna get rid of this one here. The cut tool can do that sometimes. Just get rid of any unnecessary vertices. Just select them, hit X, and just dissolve vertices. Okay, here's one as well. We don't want that. Just getting rid of this one. I don't know why the cut tool does this. It just does it sometimes. But any vertices that are out of place and shouldn't be there, just select them, hit X, and then just dissolve vertices. Okay, so I know the hand was a little bit tricky, and I really do apologize if you're new to Blender and you found it tricky to follow along with modeling the hand. So that was probably the trickiest part of this whole tutorial. So if you were able to follow along with me and model this cartoony stylized hand, you're doing pretty well, and the rest should be pretty easy for you. So I'm just going to tab out of edit mode, and I'm noticing here with the shirt, so I'm just going to select it. It's doing something funny here, so I'm just going to disable proportional editing. Just Shift Alt, click on this edge to select it, G, X, and just move it in. Okay, so why is it doing that? Go to vertex select, just select this vertex here, Alt S, and just bring it out. Okay, so this looks like it's not connecting here because it's intersecting with the mesh on the chest here. So just bring that point out, tab out of edit mode, then select the body, and you can just select this vertex and bring it in, like that. Oh yeah, and by the way, we do need to enable enable the subdivision surface modifier again on our model. Okay, that looks better. And with the shirt, we can also just grab this vertex in here and just bring it in a little bit, just to sharpen the neckline a little bit. Just bring these two vertices down, like that. So it really depends on what you're going for. At the back, I might just bring that in a bit. Okay, so that was the hard part done. So now we pretty much, having a look at this, I think we finished our body. So the head, believe it or not, is actually going to be a lot easier. So we've done the hard part now. We have our body, we have our shirt, we have our pants, we have our shoes, and we just finished doing the really hard part, which was adding the cartoony style hands, which we can refine a little bit later, but I'm going to leave it as it is for now. So in the next part, we're going to do the modeling for the head. So this was part 1 where we do the modeling of the body. Next part is part 2, we'll do the head.